Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Law Firm Marketing Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Small, and I am really excited to be here with you this week. It's a great week. Father's Day just happened, and I got to celebrate it with my new kid, Jackson. Went out and played some golf with my father-in-law, had a little brunch. It's typical Father's Day things, and the weather sucked. It was rainy up here in Seattle, and now we're back to work, back to the grind. And I'm here, happy to share with you some more great information. As always, before I kind of get into what the topic of this week's podcast is going to be, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what's going on kind of with me, with the firm, and with our marketing efforts, and just share with you kind of what we're focusing on right now. And one of the main things I've been doing over the last couple weeks is implementing what I am calling the ultimate sales call script. All right. This is something that I put together after hanging out with a buddy of mine who implemented his own version of the script. He is a mortgage broker, and he is kicking ass. So I asked him, how are you doing so well? And he said, well, I have these meetings with people, and I lay it out like this, X, Y, Z, and people start sending me referrals. And he said, if I can get the meeting, I can basically get them to agree to work with me. And then the rest is history after that. So I put together this whole script. Actually, I've shared it with the gold members of Law Firm Confidential because it's a pretty intricate process. It involves 2 meetings. It involves a literal script, some points you want to hit, some things that you want to make sure that you do, and ends with asking and getting referrals from your referral partners. So I've been implementing that in my own practice, and then I laid that all out in Law Firm Confidential in the gold member section, which, and there's no joke here, this process is going to make me probably millions of dollars over the course of my legal career, because for me, I'm using it first for our personal injury practice, going out and meeting chiropractors and insurance agents and other people like that, and pitching them on our firm and showing them that we can meet their needs. And, it doesn't take very long to start making some serious money if you can get good referral sources for your practice. All right. So it's awesome. And, again, I got most of that tucked back behind Law Firm Confidential only because it's so ridiculously great. So you just have to trust me on that, or you're going to have to go and check out Law Firm Confidential, one or the other. And speaking of Law Firm Confidential, the doors are going to open again the first week of July. If you're interested in checking that out, you can go to lawfirmmastery.com/confidential and enter your name and email address. And as I roll that out, I'll send you some emails, kind of letting you know more about what Law Firm Confidential is really about. Let you kind of have a sneak peek behind the scenes and behind the curtain and see what it's all about. And probably we'll even share the first part of my ultimate sales call script. So if you're interested in any of that, go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/confidential and check that out. Okay, what else has been going on this week? We had a law clerk started working for us, and it's kind of an interesting story. We weren't really planning on having a law clerk. We just hadn't talked about it. We hadn't discussed it, but a guy that I met a couple of years ago at a UW sports banquet. This guy's on the crew team, and they were having like a professionals dinner or whatever, where the students hang out with professionals and get to ask them questions and stuff like that. And I met this guy. He wasn't even in law school yet. He reached out to me and he said, "Hey, you know what? I just finished my first year of law school. I am looking for a job or a clerkship, and I just wanted to talk to you about what's going on." So I was like, "Yeah, no problem. Let's go talk." So we went out to coffee, talked to him. He's a good guy, interested in criminal defense, which is cool. And so I said, "Hey, you know what? You can come work for us for the summer. You're a first year law student, so you don't know jack about being a lawyer, and so we're not going to pay you very much, and we're going to teach you a lot. And if you want to come on." And he did. He decided to take us up on the opportunity. which I think is a pretty great opportunity. If for no other reason than he's going to kind of get to hang out and see what a law firm looks like that's run well. That's focused on business, that's focused on great client service, and so he's going to get a chance to see what goes on here. So that's cool. His name is Seamus. He's a cool dude. What else? This past week, couple weeks, in addition to working on the ultimate sales call script that I talked about, I've also been working hard on our AdWords campaigns, and we have a pretty structured, I guess, AdWords campaign for our traffic ticket practice that I've had on autopilot for quite some time, and I've kind of pulled that out. I'm working on that more actively, and then I'm also starting to increase our activity on the DUI front. And I wanted to do that because although I don't necessarily like AdWords and online advertising, it is a way to really generate some quick cash if you need to. You will get some leads. You will get some referrals. You're going to have to kind of sift through the junky referrals and the junky leads, which is why I don't really like AdWords. But the fact of the matter is, if you spend $1 on AdWords campaign and you get 2 back, then it's probably worth doing. So we're getting into that again. That's as always. Once I really get into it and get some results and good or bad, I'll share kind of with you what I found, and so you can kind of know what's going on there. It's nice to know, and that's why I want to share it with you too. What happens is because it's nice to know that you can really generate some cash whenever you need to. And whoever's listening to this right now, I guarantee you, if you took the time to really think about how to put together a good AdWords campaign, if you read that Perry Marshall book that I've referred to a couple times, I think it's The Ultimate Guide to AdWords. If you read through that and really implemented what that book says, you can make money today. You can put more money in your pocket. Yeah, you're going to have to outlay some cash, probably, a couple $100 probably, at least, to get some leads. But, if you spend $200 and you make $2,000, that's a pretty good return. So think about that. If you're struggling right now, get that book, Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords. Implement the practices. Keep your ad spend low. The book will tell you how to do that, so you don't spend a ton of money, and just see what happens. I would almost guarantee you that you will get some money. All right. Okay, so enough of the jibber jabber, enough of the chit chat. Let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic is kind of a pull back the curtain. It's kind of one of those things where, I'm always wondering what people are doing kind of on a daily basis, what they're all allocating their time to, and how they do things. And so I thought I'd spend a little bit of time telling you about one of the things that really is a big part of my day and a big part of my life, and that is podcasts. Okay. Not only do I have this podcast, I have a couple of other podcasts. I have a firm podcast, and I also have another podcast that's called Successful in Seattle that I'm starting, that I haven't released yet, and I'll tell you more about that later too. That's a great idea for all of you that I hate to do it like that and just leave you hanging, but that's going to be a new podcast that I have. It's going to be awesome. It's going to help me network with really big players here in Seattle, and it's also going to help me reach more people to make us more money over the long haul. But in addition to that, I listen to a lot of podcasts every day. My drive to work it'd be anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what traffic is like. And I used to spend that time just listening to the radio, but now I use it listening to podcasts, or I use it listening to audiobooks. And most of the time it's podcasts. I like the format. I like that it's contemporary. That most of the podcasts that I'm listening to were recorded within the last couple of months, so they're fresh, and the content that's on there is fresh. The perspectives are fresh, and if you find some people that you can trust on these podcasts, they can really help you gain some serious ground with your business, both from a mindset perspective, just from a marketing, sales perspective. They can help you become better people too. They can help you live your life better, more efficiently, more effectively. It can help you be happier. It can do all kinds of cool stuff. So what I wanted to do today was just share the top 5 podcasts that I'm listening to right now, so that if you want to go check them out, you can. They're free and they're awesome. To Before I get there though, the way I have an iPhone, I'm just going to give you the hardware, kind of the background. So I have an iPhone that I use, for my phone, and I have this app called Downcast on it. And I don't know if it's 99 cents or $1.99, but it's a podcast feed application. So it allows me to put all my podcasts in one place, and it's kind of like an RSS feed with the internet, where when somebody releases a new episode, it will just kind of pre-propagate and show me that it's there. And the other cool thing about Downcast is that it allows you to go back and listen to old episodes, and it keeps track of what you listened to. So, some of these podcasts I'm going to encourage you to go back and listen to from the very beginning. And after you listen to episode 1, it will kind of be shaded out so you can see that you've already listened to it, so you can move on to the next episode and not have to really remember where it's at, because I think I probably have 25 podcasts on my app that I listen to, so it can get it can be difficult to kind of keep track of where you're at if you're not careful. Okay, so top 5 podcasts, and these are not going to be in any particular order. Although I'll tell you which ones are my favorites. There are really 2 that I would say are must listens no matter what. And the first one of those 2 is the one that I'm going to talk about first, and it's called I Love Marketing. Okay, I Love Marketing podcast is probably the podcast that you should listen to today if you are starting or building your law firm. Okay, I Love Marketing podcast, as the name sounds, is all about marketing. It is a show that is hosted by 2 dudes. One is named Joe Polish. The other guy's name is Dean Jackson, and they are marketing gurus. And they're kind of like, well, not to say that I'm a marketing guru, but they're kind of like me in the sense that they don't just think about marketing; they actually do it, and then they talk about their experiences. Joe Polish is I think Joe Polish used to started in the carpet cleaning business. So he owned a carpet cleaning business. It was a big failure for a long time. He really dove into direct marketing, advertising, and learned it and perfected it and made millions and millions of dollars at it. And now he kind of talks about it and teaches it to other people. He also has a company, I think it's called Piranha Marketing, and he does some other stuff. Man, I can't remember. I can't think of the name. He has a mastermind kind of a thing. It costs $25,000 a year to get into his mastermind. So he has some real heavy hitters in there, and they do some real serious stuff. And the cool thing about it is that on this podcast, they talk about everything, and they line it out for you step by step. What they don't do, and what you can get if you pay them, is really talk about your business specifically. That's what you're not going to get on these podcasts. But that doesn't mean that you can't take away the lessons and then apply them to your firm. They talk about direct mail marketing. They talk about internet marketing. They talk about crafting your message. One of their big things is the before, during, and after experience, and really thinking about your business from that perspective. What is the experience like for a client before they hire you? When they're out on the periphery, when they're either researching you or thinking about whether or not they're going to hire you. What is the experience like during the process, after they've hired you, and you're working for them? And then what's the process like after they've hired you and after the matter's concluded? And what's that like? And that, I can tell you that after is probably a big place that you fall down, because you probably don't follow up. You probably don't keep in touch. You probably don't do anything that will get you repeat and referral business from your old clients. So, man, I love marketing is awesome. They're I think they're like 150 episodes or so, and I would just go back and listen to them all the way from the very beginning. Their stuff is relevant. Their early stuff is relevant. Their new stuff is relevant. They have some great interviews on there with people, and another good thing too is that their mindset is that their tone is very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very heartwarming. It's energetic. It's uplifting. Okay, these guys are going to give you the kick in the pants that you need to go out there and do what you need to do. Their tone is sort of a lot like mine, right? Like I believe that everyone listening to this podcast can reach their goals and reach their dreams and do what they want to do. It takes a lot of hard work, yes, but it is possible to do it. Okay, you can do it. That's what I want you to know from me, and that's what these guys will let you know too. Okay. All right. I love marketing, and there'll be links to this in the show notes. You can go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/63, I think is the episode that we're on, and get those show notes. Let me look real quick just to make sure. Give me 5 seconds to see where we're at. Yes. Okay. Episode 63. All right. So lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/63 will get you to this episode. Okay. So the second podcast that I'm going to tell you about here is one it's called Think, Act, Get. All right. This is a two-man show. They don't do really interviews. They just talk. And the hosts are James Schramko and Ezra Firestone. Okay. And these two dudes, again, big heavy hitters in the business world. James Schramko owns a web development business, and he made his money in affiliate sales originally. No, actually, even before that. So James has a great story. So James Schramko, his original story was he was a Mercedes salesman. He's from Australia, and he implemented this system using some tactics that I think I probably have talked about. He implemented the lessons from this book called Spin Selling. Okay, and he became the top salesman, I think, in the world, at least in Australia, for Mercedes. Went up into management for Mercedes and was crushing it. But he saw the limitations, I guess, of working in corporate America. He saw that, although he was making a lot of money now, that at some point there would be a ceiling. And the higher he went with the company, he saw the less time that he had available for him to do the things that he wanted to do. So he got into kind of internet marketing, which is affiliate sales and things like that, which then he did very, very well. He's made a lot of money. Then he kind of turned that into a web development company. So they do search engine optimization, they do web design, they do content creation, they do all kinds of stuff like that. So he's super successful. And again, he's one of those guys that is really going to push you to get out there and do stuff, learn it, think it, do it. And then Think, Act, Get, right? That's the name of the show. Then Ezra Firestone, his co-host, he is a big internet marketer. He's big e-commerce. So what he'll do, I think, is he'll set up like, let's say you got a keyboard and mouse, right? He'll set up websites where he sells keyboards and mice to people, and then markets them and does stuff like that. So he's been super successful as well. And this podcast is really big on it's less about marketing and sales, and it's more about mindset. Okay, they talk about the things that hold us back, the things that kind of the problems that we'll face through life, and then they talk about kind of how to overcome them and what they do to make themselves better. So to give you an example, I'm looking at the podcast episodes right now. There are episodes, and typically they'll tackle one topic per episode. So there are topics on willpower, timing, communication, overwhelm, money, community, ethics, balance, success, motivation, attitude, acknowledgement, learning, confidence, excuses, fear, habits, uh, feedback, change, leadership, burnout, networking, culture, speed, people, pleasure, goals, results, right? So all this stuff. And it's great. It's really great. They take a lot of time to think about what they're going to say beforehand. And, you can learn a lot from those guys. So Think, Act, Get. Go check it out. The third of my favorite podcasts is called the Moth Podcast. This podcast is not marketing or business related at all. This is a podcast that is put out by somebody like National Public Radio, by NPR or something, and all it is these people telling stories, and they have these moth series slams all around the country. If you Google it, there probably will be one near you, and I would encourage you to go check it out because it's really cool. And they have a theme of the night, and they have people get up and tell stories, and what they put on the podcast are the best of those stories. And they range across the gamut. They're funny, they're sad, they're scary, they're heartwarming, they're tragic, but they're great. And there are really two things that I take away from listening to the Moth podcast series. The first is that you really, if you step back from it, you can really see the power of a good story. Right, you can see how these stories make you feel, and you can try to use the elements that they do in your own life, in your law practice, to kind of recreate that effect. Right. The other thing is, you don't have to always be working. You don't have to always be thinking about business and thinking about marketing. And although I spend a lot of time doing it because it's actually enjoyable to me, it is nice to just step away and be entertained. It's nice to kind of have those feelings that you may not always have crop up. Whether it be, like I said, sadness, joy, elation, fear. And these storytellers are great. They're really, really good at pulling this stuff out. So I would encourage you to go check that out. Okay. The fourth podcast that I want to talk about today is called the Solopreneur Hour. And this is, I mentioned earlier that there are two of my favorite podcasts, I Love Marketing and this one. Okay, Solopreneur Hour is hosted by Michael O'Neill, and it is an interview style. He pretty much has somebody on that he interviews every show, and his show's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I know that I really like this show a lot because literally every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I am refreshing my podcast so that I can listen to his show. He talks to, as the title of the show implies, he talks to entrepreneurs. Okay, he talks to people that can't work for anyone else for whatever reason. Usually because they have experienced what life is like as an entrepreneur, and they know that they can't go back. That's kind of like me. Let's say this whole law firm thing broke down and I was lost and I couldn't go. I would find something else to do on my own. I would create my own business again because that's where it's at, But this show is great for a lot of different reasons. But Michael O'Neill, who's the host of the show, he is really cool in some ways, and he's also very technical in others. So what he'll do is he'll take a step back and he'll tell you his thought process behind why he does things, and it's really awesome because there's always a reason for what he's doing. There's always a thought behind it. There are episodes where he talks about his own brand, where he talks about his podcast. He talks about microphones and the importance of good audio. He talks about the importance of bringing strong content, of consistency. And then he also interviews people who are successful entrepreneurs on their own. And he has an interview style that gets a lot of information out of them, And again, that's another reason for that is because you'll hear him say that he spends a lot of time thinking about the technical aspects of being an interviewer, because you can't just turn the mic on and start recording and be any good. You got to think about it. And there are some things that you need to know. And there are some kind of basic elements of a good interview that if you're not familiar with them, then your interview can suck. So he's great. I would encourage you to go and subscribe to that podcast today and start listening. All right. And then the fifth and final podcast that I'm going to recommend is a new one that I've been listening to really literally just the last couple of days. And it's also going to be extremely controversial probably for a lot of you listening out there. The podcast is called The Art of Charm. Okay. And this is a podcast about communication, about body language, about neuro-linguistic programming, about connecting or connections, but not connection, connecting or connections. And at the end of the day, it's a show about picking up women. All right. So if you've ever heard of The Pickup Artist, there's a book by Neil Strauss called The Pickup Artist. It again is about communication. It's about picking up girls. And that's what these guys talk about, really. At least the very beginning, if you go back to their original episodes, it's all about picking up girls. But again, it's the kind of thing where you got to kind of wipe away the facade. You got to trim the fat to get to the meat. And there's some really, really great information here about how your own internal confidence can affect the way that people react to you. There's some great conversation and some great lessons about confidence and about really just going up to someone and having the guts to say hello, and how so few people do that if you are the one that does it, it can make a really, really great impression on people. And, again, they really dive into communication, into body language, into the way that you use your words, the way that you make eye contact, the way that you hold your body, your posture and things like that. So I would give it a shot. That one probably isn't for everyone because some of you may not be able to move past kind of the overarching theme. But if you can get past that, there are some really, really great lessons in there that will help you, whether you're in front of a jury or you're out networking or you're talking to a potential client or you're talking to your wife, right? I'm married. I'm not picking up chicks, or girls, whatever. Don't get mad at me. But this stuff is very powerful if you take the time to really internalize it and then implement the lessons behind the stories. All right. So that's it for today. Those are the 5 podcasts I'm listening to right now, the main ones. I got a whole bunch of other ones that I kind of listen to as the topics, if they're relevant topics that I like. But, if you want to get ahead with your firm, if you want to really kind of get a different perspective on what you're doing, check those 5 podcasts out. And again, those will be linked to in the show notes, lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/63. Okay. Thanks for listening. Before I let you go, I want to talk really quickly again about Law Firm Confidential. Okay. It's going to be opening again in just a couple weeks. This is the place I've created to deep dive into starting and building a successful law firm. Every week, I release a new module with step-by-step instructions for starting a successful law firm. This is the place for me to essentially tell you everything I do in detail. It includes screenshots and real-time videos to explain how I get results. If you're interested in learning more, simply go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/confidential and enter your name and email address. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be in touch with you to tell you more about the site and let you know when membership officially opens up. Okay, it's great talking to you this week. Listen to those podcasts and supercharge your law firm. Bye-bye.